If you tuned into my weekly preview video last week and you caught my prediction for the week at the end of the video, then you saw that I actually predicted the Bulls would finish 2-2 on the week, and wouldn't you know it, they did, although it wasn't against the teams that I thought that they would beat, which made the week all the more disappointing when you saw the Bulls lose in back-to-back games they really should have won. And when you have close games that could have gone in your favor, it makes it all the more painful just because we know the Eastern Conference is going to be a bloodbath this year with so many teams competing for a playoff spot. But whatever, we'll put last week behind us. I'm gonna try and start being more positive on the channel again. Some people have called out that I just seem way more negative than I have in years past, probably because I have higher expectations of the team, but I'll do my best to not be such a downer even when I'm offering fair criticism of the Bulls. So in today's video, we're gonna be going over the week of games ahead for the team, 4 games in total, and I'll be discussing my keys to each of them, things to be looking out for, as well as my predictions for the week, which I usually get wrong, so don't go using my predictions to make any wagers. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. So 4 games this week. The Bulls are off tonight, 2 days off, including yesterday, which is nice. But then it's yet another back-to-back, a traveling back-to-back, which always annoys me. Like, if the NBA is going to schedule back-to-backs, can they at least try and have the team playing in back-to-backs to have them both be home games? But the Bulls have their first game of a back-to-back in Brooklyn, taking on the Nets, a game that will be featured on TNT. Not a home game though, so even if the Bulls lose on TNT to the Nets, the Bulls' home streak will still live on. Then they come back home to take on the Hornets on Wednesday. Then they travel back east again to face off against the Celtics on Friday, and then close out the week in Canada facing the Toronto Raptors. Now, it's not going to be an easy schedule for the month of November as a whole, if you guys have seen some of the teams that the Bulls are going to be going up against. But let's start with the first matchup tomorrow night against the Brooklyn Nets, which I'm very curious to see how this game is going to transpire, because so far, the Nets have been an absolute disaster. I know some people figured that likely was going to be the case anyway. I'm actually shocked at how bad they are. I didn't think that they would be title favorites by any means, but I predicted they would finish 4th in the East and be a scary team to be looking out for, simply because they have one of the best players in the world in Kevin Durant, who is going to be on a mission that he can win one without Steph Curry and prove all of his haters wrong. They have Kyrie, who also would not be limited in terms of his availability this year since there is no vaccine requirement in the state of New York. And then Ben Simmons, he was going to be back, and even though I thought Simmons would be a little rusty after taking the whole year off, I thought he would at least be decent enough to be an impactful piece for this team, especially on defense. But he has been absolute trash so far this year, more timid than he ever was before on offense, airballing layups, not taking threes, of course, not taking jump shots in general. And then the Nets roll guys. They're shooters like Seth Curry, although I know he's only played 1 game so far this season, Joe Harris, Patty Mills. Like, you would think this would be at a minimum an above average team on paper, but that's the thing. You can't just look at a team on paper and assume they're going to be good. Culture, team chemistry, roster fit, coaching, all of that is still very important. And the Nets, despite all the talent that they have, are lacking in all those areas that I just mentioned. That being said though, they're 1-5, haven't looked good, guys are frustrated, and they might come out very hungry to get a win over a team that has struggled in starting off games and having trouble closing out games. I'll likely make a separate video on that about the Bulls, because it is very concerning when you look at some of the Bulls' numbers by quarter and how detrimental their slow starts have been to their overall performance. But in this game, I mean, the biggest keys are, how do you stop their 2 best players? Their elite scorers, who are both averaging over 30 points per game. This is going to be a big night for both of the Bulls' young players on the defensive end in Patrick Williams, who I assume will guard Kevin Durant, and Dosunmu, who I assume will guard Kyrie Irving. Again, also assuming Io will be available since he missed the last game. And at the time of this recording, no update has been given on the status for him on tomorrow night's game. And for both Patrick and Io, I don't even want them worrying about offense in this one. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Still be smart on offense, be active where you can, make the right plays, but all of their energy and effort should be conserved on defending 2 of the best scorers in the game and limiting their looks as much as they possibly can. Get in their faces, make them earn it. Kyrie, as good as he's been in scoring this season, has actually been shooting very poorly from deep, less than 30% thus far. Make him take those outside shots rather than driving to the basket and trying to draw contact, because he will kill you at the foul line. Kevin Durant also hasn't been shooting well from 3. He's been working in the mid-range. Patrick Williams needs to ensure that he's all over him. Bulls better be having him defend DeMar DeRozan all practice to see what it's like in dealing with a mid-range expert. And then for the Bulls, the good thing here is the Nets are one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the NBA, which the Bulls have been horrible at defending the three so far this season. The Bulls are second to last in the league in opponents' three-point percentage, but you know who is dead last? That would be the Nets. The Nets are even worse than the Bulls in terms of giving up more threes. So for the Bulls, use that to your advantage, even though we don't have the best outside shooters. But Lavine, Vucevic, even guys like Coby White, Javonte Green, Patrick Williams, Goran, who we know can hit them when they're getting open looks, study that scouting report and exploit this weakness of the Nets. And then the other thing really is for Vucevic to take advantage of a mismatch down low. The Nets have size, but they don't really have a true center. Claxton is good, Royce O'Neal is decent, but Vooch is going to be the best big man on the court. You could even say that's the case for Drummond if he's back by then. Crash the boards. The Nets are also one of the worst rebounding teams in the league. Know your strengths, use it to your advantage. Then the Bulls play the Hornets at the United Center. I don't really know what to make of the Hornets. They're 500. They've looked okay, better than what I would have thought without LaMelo Ball. But Terry Rozier, who looked dominant in those first two games, has been out, and at the time of this recording is still out. Gordon Hayward has been surprisingly good, but I'm not really worried about him in terms of matching up and being able to guard either Zach or DeMar. PJ Washington, Kelly Oubre, inefficient. I don't know, maybe I'm chalking this up as an easy win and it'll come back to bite me, but this team just doesn't match up well against a team like the Chicago Bulls, especially when I look at a guy like Mason Plumlee as their starting five. And even though Nick Richards has been good for them as their backup five, I don't really see him outworking Drummond for boards. And without LaMelo and presumably without Terry Rozier, I don't see how they take out the Bulls. Then Friday, Bulls go to Boston, and you know the Celtics are going to be hungry and getting revenge in that game, especially since they were not at all happy with how the game was officiated. Their coach got tossed, Grant Williams got tossed and was even suspended for one game. The Celtics lit up the Bulls early, especially from three, and the Bulls kind of do what they have been doing a lot this season, is just come roaring back in a hurry and ended up winning the game pretty handily in a big win. Bulls did a great job of flipping the script in that one and guarded the three well. Celtics went cold after that first quarter, and for this one, I mean, aside from just limiting Tatum and Brown, which is obvious, do not let the Celtics get out to an early lead and be all over them on the perimeter like you were in the back half of last game. The Celtics took 48 threes in that last one. They're going to be putting up a ton of shots from downtown. That's just what they do. Make them go ice cold again like you did the last go around. And the other thing is, feed Vucevic, get him the ball, and work him in the post. Robert Williams is still out for the Celtics. Without them, they don't have much of an interior presence, and it's why you saw Vucevic pull down 23 rebounds the last time these two teams met. Let Vooch get his touches. DeMar and Zach need to sacrifice theirs and their shot attempts and defer to Vooch when he's going up against guys like Noah Vonleh. This is another game in which Vooch needs to be a monster. Same goes for Drummond coming off the bench. Then the Bulls close out the week against the Raptors, and we all know DeMar likes coming back to Toronto and balling out against his former team. DeMar's probably going to want the ball in his hands most of the time in this one, and let him do it. He takes his game to a new level when he's facing the Raptors. The challenge the Bulls are going to face in this one is size, particularly at the 4 spot. The Raptors are stacked with forwards while the Bulls are not. Pascal Siakam is off to an incredible start to the year. Scotty Barnes is looking nice in his sophomore season. OG Anunoby, Chris Boucher, all guys with length who are scrappy on defense but can get to the rim on offense and will make you pay if you're not careful. They also have Precious Achiuwa. Like, the Bulls did well last season against the Raptors, but every game was a battle, and the Raptors' length made it hard for them to actually come away with the win. It's a little different for the Bulls because they added some size this year with Drummond, but with just Patrick Williams as the Bulls' only 4, and you would assume he's going to be on Siakam, going to make it a tough assignment for guys like DeMar guarding their other wings. Javonte, Alex Caruso are probably going to have to guard some of the bigger forwards, but you know what the Raptors lack? A true center. I feel like this is always the case when talking about a key to a game, but when you're going up against a team that isn't deep at the 5, that's a game for Vucevic to eat. The Bulls have to recognize that as a mismatch, adjust their game plan to playing more through Vooch in the post. As far as my predictions for the week, I said I'm going to be more positive on the channel. I'm saying the Bulls go 3-1 this week, with the only loss actually being to the Raptors, because it'll be their 4th game in 6 nights. It's also the first game of a back-to-back. The Bulls actually play the Raptors again the following day, this time back at home. My guess is Lavine is probably going to rest on that first game. I don't even know at this point, but it sounds like Lavine isn't going to be playing in back-to-backs in road games, which I guess would mean he may miss the game against the Nets, which would really suck, but that's where we are at this point. So I think the Bulls will take out the Nets and the Hornets, and I think they'll surprise us again by beating the Celtics, but the Raptors might be where they fall after a long week, and also the size of the Raptors is going to be a challenge for them. But let me know how you guys think the Bulls will do this week. Let me know in the comments, and as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.